Welcome to Maha Uncensored. I'm Jeff Hayes. You may have heard terms like biohacking, longevity science, health optimization. In this chapter, we uncover natural miracles at the quantum and atomic level. We speak to leaders in the longevity movement, from Dave Asprey, the father of the biohacking movement, to Ben Greenfield, John Lawrence, and more. What we discovered has the power to change the way your body operates, and it's not expensive. It doesn't involve more drugs. It doesn't involve waiting and hoping for Big Pharma to get a breakthrough. It's all available to you right now. We call it the Maha Toolkit. I hope you enjoy.
There's a lot of practices in self-care that fall under this umbrella that we might call longevity. In my own mind, I think what's important is not just how many years you live, but the quality of those years. So to me, longevity is first about how can I live actively? How can I have a high quality life? We want to spend a long time, as long as we can, on this planet, and we want to be able to engage in life as we do. We don't want to be a burden on the people we love. We don't want to be a burden on society. And that stuff gets set up in your younger years, meaning that if you're paying attention to your lifestyle, if you're avoiding toxins in your life, and you're promoting well-being through practices which help to detoxify your body, to continually move your body, to pay attention to the foods that you're consuming, and you're also making a conscious effort to have a positive mental attitude, really is a big part of how your quality of life is going to turn out. And you have everything from the extreme, which is in that biohacking community, where people are going all out to try to figure out, how can I live to 150? How can I live to 175? And then you have other people who maybe they don't go to these extremes, but they want to adopt lifestyle practices, all of which can lead to life extension, which could lead to having more years on this earth.
I'm Tyler LeBaron, and I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a PhD researcher. We say now that we want to live long enough so we can live forever. And with the innovation, the things that are happening today they're the first people living that may never die. We're on that path of immortality. And it's not to say that's going to happen, but just scientifically, it opens up the possibility, because we see how wonderful the body is about its ability to regenerate the cells and to go through all these processes. And so if we provide the cells what they need and we're able to make some medical innovations, then it opens up the possibility for so many different things, or at least when it comes to helping combat major diseases.
Have you ever heard of red light therapy? Cold plunges? What about grounding or peptides? These are all examples of a term that's taken the world by storm called biohacking. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, biohacking is experimentation done on oneself through a variety of drugs, treatments, or practices to improve the qualities or capabilities of life.
I'm Dave Asprey, and I lead the biohacking movement, which is a movement of 100 million plus people around the world who've decided that we want to be in charge of our own biology, and we do it by changing the environment around us and inside us. We learn what to eat, how to sleep, and it includes things like longevity and becoming more conscious, or increasing your brain power, or losing 100 pounds the way I did. And so this isn't about people just being healthy. Everyone wants to be healthy, and that's why Maha is so important. What we're looking to do is say health is table stakes for everyone. We all deserve this. And some of us want to go beyond healthy and start developing to our very best abilities. And the good news is, it's not very much more expensive, or sometimes it's cheaper to just do the things that work.
Got any of those hydrogens?
Yeah. You want a hydrogen
baby?
tablet?
Come on.
These are H2
Hook it
tabs.
up. I love these. I'm addicted.
I love these too, yeah.
Explain to people what these are instead of...
Hydrogen gas, this is probably my favorite biohack in the world because it'll cost you about $1 a day. These are called H2 tab. And hydrogen is not just an antioxidant. It's a selective antioxidant. It uses the body's homeostatic process to suppress inflammation. I think it's the greatest biohack on earth.
I did my PhD researching hydrogen gas as a therapeutic molecule. My dissertation was on using hydrogen gas for cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases. Now there's over 3,000 publications on molecular hydrogen having therapeutic applications, showing statistically and clinically relevant therapeutic effects. It almost seems like this panacea for all these different diseases and conditions. Two hydrogen atoms that are covalently bonded together. That's the hydrogen molecule, H2 gas. That is the molecule that we're talking about. And with this gas, you can inhale it, or you can take this gas and you can dissolve it into water. And then you can drink this water. And so the water acts as the carrier to deliver the hydrogen gas to our bodies.
I'm Dr. Paul Baratero. My passion is to prevent disease and allowing people to accomplish their divine potential. Many years ago, I developed hydrogen water systems, and our device separates water molecules into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. We send oxygen to the environment where people can breathe it, and we dissolve the H2 gas into the water, and that's where all the benefits come from. And so it's really important that we have hydrogen, from brain to so many different things in the body that are dependent upon hydrogen gas. Currently, there are over 200 disease models so far that have shown to have huge benefits or disease-modifying effects with no contraindications. Everything from neurologic to disease models, cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's, to blood pressure issues, to weight loss. You start looking at all the things that hydrogen does or affects, and it's amazing. So going back 20 years ago, my wife was really sick. Our first 10 years of our marriage, she was very sick. Thyroid issues, gynecological issues, anemia, a lot of issues. And of course, here was me, 31 years old, married 10 years, going, what's gonna happen now? My wife is not doing well. I love her. I don't want her to pass. I don't want her to be out of my life. And so, as a result, I was looking for anything to preserve her life, to fix the issues, right? And what did help her was water with hydrogen gas. And over a 6-month period, it normalized her menstrual cycle. It changed thyroid function. Her hemoglobin and hematocrit levels normalized. She no longer was anemic and no longer just fainting randomly. And so it changed my life hugely. It changed my family's life. And of course, now there's millions of people that are benefiting from drinking water that has hydrogen gas dissolved in it.
Hydrogen gas, it's a superior antioxidant because it works as a selective antioxidant, and the way it modulates our body's redox homeostasis, because hydrogen gas uses our body's innate intelligence, so to speak, to regulate our body's own antioxidant defense system. Hydrogen gas easily can dissolve in the cell membrane. In fact, it's more soluble. It's several times more soluble in the cell membrane, but it can diffuse through the cell membrane into the cytosol, the mitochondria, the nucleus, easier than any other molecule. Because hydrogen gas is the smallest, it's the lightest molecule in the universe. So it can easily enter. It can go through the channels, or it can go through the cell membrane. It can go any way it wants to, and it's gonna get to the cells where it can exert these effects that it needs to. And it can help rejuvenate the cell so it starts operating or functioning better.
When I became an ND, I did my dissertation on longevity. And when I looked at longevity, I said, you know, everyone's got their opinion of how to live forever. But I said, I want to go study the 4,000 centenarians that I can get the data on. And I can say, what was the difference with them? Because they all lived over 100, they were doing something. Because they're beating out most individuals that live on this planet. When I was reading their things, this person saying you should drink wine every day. This person said you got to have ice cream every afternoon. This person was, it was all over the board. And then I looked at their gut. And it was like, oh, they had an intact intestinal tract. The one thing that they all had that was the same, and the only thing, was they had a gut that was functioning. So their immune function's working, their antioxidant system's working. That is where weight stays off. That's where obesity is not a part of our culture. That's where our skin looks good, our teeth look good, our eyes work, our brains work. It's all our gut.
When we eat a healthy diet and we have a healthy microbiome, your body naturally produces a lot of hydrogen gas. We harbor in our intestines lots of bacteria, everyone knows this, but some of the more beneficial bacteria is the bacteria that produces hydrogen gas. And there's a number of studies showing that the more hydrogen gas you produce, the healthier you tend to be. You can actually measure hydrogen gas in the breath. That comes from the bacteria. And in contrast, the people who don't produce a lot of hydrogen gas, instead their bacteria are producing other things like a lot of methane or hydrogen sulfide. That's correlated with a lot of diseases, a lot of bad conditions. That's not good. So hydrogen gas production not only shows you have the good bacteria, but hydrogen gas itself provides therapeutic benefits to the body. But the fact is, this also shows that hydrogen gas is safe. Because if it wasn't safe, then why is it that people who produce more hydrogen gas, they tend to be healthier?
Typically, if someone set out by diet alone to fix their gut, it could be 2 years. It's a 2-year cycle to change the terrain and the biome of the gut simply by changing food. Let's compare that to hydrogen water. In 2 weeks, if they drink a good amount of water on a daily basis, within 2 weeks, people that are gluten and dairy intolerant can be eating gluten and dairy without inflammatory response in the body. There can be a huge change in their intestinal tract to where their gut is working properly. What's really important is getting hydrogen into the body every day so that we're modulating the pathways that we need to modulate so that our brain is working correctly, our blood pressure is good, our heart, our ability to fight off disease models and to have less susceptibility to disease. Those are the things that we need to do. And that's really a factor of having hydrogen gas in the body on a regular basis. 0.5 part per million of hydrogen gas dissolved in water is considered therapeutic. 1 part per million is where people feel an energy increase in the body. As long as we're getting 1 part per million in our water, we're good.
When it comes to molecular hydrogen for longevity, I think mechanistically it makes sense on everything you can imagine. If we think about the hallmarks of aging and some of the very specific disease conditions that accelerate aging, right? So we look at hyperglycemia, right, glucose levels. We see a lot of clinical studies where hydrogen gas actually can help lower glucose levels. And we actually published a 6-month study with subjects with metabolic syndrome, high cholesterol levels, high glucose levels, inflammation, and we found that just by drinking hydrogen water, that all these parameters improved. Even the ideas of telomeres, right? The ends of the DNA that over time get shorter with the replication cycle of the cells. A number of studies are suggesting that hydrogen gas can potentially prevent the decrease in telomeres. You think about the mitochondria, which now so much research has been showing that the mitochondria is the core key component and not just being the powerhouse, but by providing enough ATP and energy, then other cellular processes like autophagy, cellular regeneration, all these things can actually function. And hydrogen gas is able to help in this area with the mitochondria. But the fact is, we know that the root cause of all these different diseases has to deal with oxidative stress and or inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction. These are core at all of these conditions.
One of the big things why we age and why we get diseases is related to the mitochondria. Diseases, 85% are mitochondrial origin. So these are little engines. They burn fat, burn sugar to produce energy, and these mitochondria get easily damaged. Mitochondria has its own DNA, and it's much more vulnerable to damage. So that's one of the big markers and why we all die. This happens no matter what you do. What we want to do is have that process be as slow as possible. So all the things that help your mitochondria are kind of the same things that are in nature.
And these mitochondria are considered the powerhouse of the cell. And they take glucose and oxygen, typically, and they convert that into something called ATP. And that process uses electrons. And these electrons are being moved through this what's called a transport chain, and it makes heat, and the body harnesses that heat to then make the energy. What's really interesting is that within that chain, there's a step that's called the cytochrome C, and cyto meaning cell and chrome meaning light. So it's wild. It's actually named after being able to use light as energy. So there's two ways that the cell can make energy. It can make energy through using glucose and oxygen through the electrons, or it can use photons. So we can literally take sunlight and harness that and make energy.
The sun has the full spectrum of visible light and light we can't see, like infrared, you can't see, ultraviolet, you can't see. And all autoimmune diseases are improved by getting all the natural frequencies, ultraviolet, the visible light, the infrared. So that's where the red lights come in.
Red light therapy is something that's becoming more and more popular. And one of the things that I really love about it is how natural it is for the body. It's not an intervention, it's not a drug, it's not something that you are trying to unnaturally do something in the body to get a certain result. It's a perfectly natural process. Red light exists, and we're talking about certain frequencies of near infrared and red light frequencies that we're exposed to every day. Usually in the early morning, kind of dawn and dusk periods is where you might have more of it, but it's something that produces a response at the cellular level in the body that helps the body heal and regulate better. The technical term is photobiomodulation. The way red light therapy works is this. When you point a red light device at a particular area of interest in the body where you're looking to get its effect, it has an impact on the cellular level with the mitochondria. When red light is received there, it enhances the function of an enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase. The result of this is that it creates more efficiency in the production of cellular energy. Without getting too technical, there's a substance called ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. This is the fuel or the energy that the cell uses. When you don't have these efficiencies in place, you'll have more stasis in the cell. You'll have more inflammation, less repair. Things get sort of stagnant. So the beauty about red light is it just helps to activate a process which increases the production of ATP and makes cellular metabolism more efficient. And that accelerates healing.
Most of the conversation surrounding photobiomodulation really has to do with penetration. The reason that makes a lot of difference is because most of the light spectrums don't get into the body. They don't pass the skin because we were designed with this protective barrier that basically blocks light. And so there's certain wavelengths within sun. There's the red and the near infrared spectrums that actually go deeper and can penetrate through the skin. And that's why those colors are used primarily in whether it's physical therapy or biohacking. A lot of people starting to use these different devices for growing hair, improving the skin, treating different organs, treating joints and tendons and muscles and things like that.
For athletes, muscle integrity, recovery, just like hydrogen, recovery times cut down significantly. People that have bone fractures and stuff can be helped if you're driving that light into the body. My son was serving 2 years in a volunteer service and was hit by a truck and ended up getting a concussion or a traumatic brain injury. And red light helps with traumatic brain injuries and concussions. My 22-year-old son could feel it. He said, "Dad, I could actually feel energy going to my brain."
Traumatic brain injury, or TBI. It's caused by a bump or jolt to the head that disrupts normal brain function. Dr. Rajiv Gupta is director of the Ultra High Resolution Volume CT Lab at Mass General Hospital. He says there are really no treatments, but this helmet could be the key to changing that. In that study, Gupta and his colleagues report the first clinical trial of near-infrared, low-level light therapy. Through MRI scans and follow-up questionnaires, the team found light therapy did affect the injury and repair process in the brain.
What is the dosage? How much are we supposed to be doing? We need to get a therapeutic dosage, right? So in red light, 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared is our number we're looking for. And what that means is on a square inch of your skin, you've got 100 milliwatts of light intensity on the skin. So many of the products are not to that level. They're 20% of that, and yet they're being sold as therapeutic, but they're not going to provide therapy. We really need to scrutinize products because red light is amazing if it's 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared or higher, and we need to make sure that we have that. Many of the products on the market are constant light, but what I've learned is as you pulse light properly, we can drive it into the body 4 times as deep. Your typical red light wavelength is going into the body less than an inch, 3/4 of an inch realistically. If we pulse light, you can get it almost 4 inches into the body. Now, for wrinkles and aesthetics, we don't need it 4 inches into the body. But if we're trying to change muscle, if we're trying to change bone because there's been a fracture, or we're trying to do things like this, then absolutely you want to pulse that light and get it into the body 4 inches, because now you can affect lung tissue, right? You could affect muscle tissue.
Photobiomodulation has a pretty large collection of research, and it's been around for a long time. If anybody's been to the dentist, you think about, when they fill the cavity, there's like that little light that they put on it, and it's all of a sudden it cures. So this is photodynamic. So there's a photodynamic aspect with different substances depending on certain wavelengths, and they match those together. So these photodynamic aspects, one of the most popular one would be methylene blue. In the late 1800s, there was a German scientist, Heinrich Caro, and he discovered methylene blue, and shortly after, the scientist, his name's Paul Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich was really interested in finding a cure for malaria. So he sits down at his microscope and he gets the dish out and he puts the parasite that carries malaria onto that screen. And he introduces the methylene blue, and he's watching it because his next step was to start adding different medicines to see what would kill that parasite, and he could observe, the phenomenon there. And as soon as he added the methylene blue, the parasite died. So he literally had his cure, like right off the gate. And so that's where methylene blue found its first medical use. And then after that, they found that it was really helpful for things like urinary tract infections. Today, it's primarily used for cyanide poisoning and for some very important and life-threatening diseases. I know some brain surgeons that will keep an IV of methylene blue going while they're doing very dangerous surgeries because it's so neuroprotective, it's so cardioprotective, it allows you to make energy independent of oxygen, so that if you have a hypoxic event and you have methylene on board, you're not likely to suffer a lot of the death of neurons. Like if you had a stroke and you happen to be supplementing with methylene blue, well, guess what? You're not likely going to get the same damage that you would if you were off of it. Heinrich Caro actually called it the magic bullet because it's got these amazing benefits throughout the body, but it doesn't seem to have any negatives. I was contacted by a gentleman, his name's Chase Hughes, and he was suffering from terrible seizures, and it was as a result of a brain injury that he had. So he came to our clinic, and we structured a methylene blue protocol for him, and that has been hugely successful. And so we've had dozens and dozens of people with chronic seizures and different brain injuries, and we found that the use of methylene blue tends to move the needle with a lot of these cases.
I started having seizures like a few years ago, and everybody in my family knows I'm a neuroscientist. I kind of looked around and I found this guy as a functional medicine guy, and he got me on methylene blue, and that instantly stopped everything. It is so incredible that it acts as an electron donor to mitochondria, especially your neuronal mitochondria. During a seizure, you can lose up to about 1 million neurons a second. I was at a point of 9 seizures a day.
Jesus.
And I was desperate. And I think that methylene blue, I think everybody should know about it. And you can get it on Amazon. I get mine from this company called Mitozen, and it's fantastic. And it's changed my life.
Methylene blue works on increasing the mitochondria's ability to make energy through all 4 complexes within the electron transport chain. That's absolutely unheard of. They've never seen any molecule before or since that can do this kind of a miracle. It's about 30% increase in mitochondrial function. There's a lot of different studies out there on methylene blue, and some of the most exciting ones that I find are how methylene blue can actually help to clear some of the proteins that collect in the brain. So anybody that's been kind of looking and studying Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and a lot of the degenerative neurologic diseases that are going on, the cause of that is really treated much more eloquently with methylene blue, because methylene blue is an antimicrobial. They've done studies showing that it's been effective for a lot of different viruses, especially when you combine it with light therapy. Now that's where the real magic with regards to an antimicrobial effect is with methylene blue.
So anything that's blue means that it absorbs red and reflects blue light. So if you're in a red light therapy machine, all your neurons are soaking up way more red light than they otherwise would without methylene. It's a significant increase. It's like 600x the effectiveness of red light therapy.
Really?
Methylene blue, it absorbs really well orally. You want it to primarily absorb in the stomach. So we like to dose it in a palm oil suspension that you can cut it into very specific dosages, and you put it in the back of your throat and then you drink something down so your mouth doesn't turn blue. And then what that does is it allows it to fully absorb in the stomach. Now we do IVs in our practice, and a lot of doctors will offer that. And it only makes sense if you're doing it for treating an infection or you're trying to do some sort of blood cleaning protocol. AIDS, all of the herpes families, people that just come in with an infection, we treat it that way. Lyme disease, very, very effective for Lyme disease. Another really fascinating thing with methylene blue is they've done large human trials on depression, and they found great benefit with that because methylene blue does act as an SSRI. It does seem to support serotonin and your neurotransmitters, and even dopamine. There is one caveat though. I would be careful if you're on SSRIs. The reality is that SSRIs and methylene blue could potentially be very dangerous to use. The amounts are so low, so if you're below 2 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, you're most likely safe, but you should talk to your doctor. This is what I found works for me, it works for my patients. Generally, we see a 0.5 milligram to 2 milligrams as being a really good window for people. So look at your weight in kilograms and multiply that by either 1/2 or 2, and somewhere in there is going to be a good dosage schedule for you with methylene blue.
If you read the average health or fitness publication, say magazine, Men's Health, Women's Fitness, you name it, you'll see a pretty decent amount of priority on the things people are aware of, right? Movement and eating, meaning move your body, do cardio, lift weights, get some steps in, and preferably eat as close to earth as possible. But what's more neglected, what is lesser known and lesser applied, is the idea that our bodies are electrical machines. Our cells are batteries, right? Everything that we do for metabolic activity, for thinking, for digesting food, for breathing, for moving, for lifting on a daily basis is based on a proper electrochemical balance. So if you look at the body as a battery, technically nutrition is going to provide some of the base fuel to feed that battery. Movement is going to use some of the energy that battery created. But what you should be asking yourself, if you really want to be healthy, is how do I go beyond movement and eating, and how do I really keep this battery charged? And that's where we turn to nature, or harnessing the power of nature. Let's take sunlight, for example. Every time photons of light strike your skin and are absorbed by your body, your mitochondria harness that energy to help to produce ATP. So adequate exposure to sunlight, especially during times of the day when you don't risk burning. But it turns out that responsible use of sunshine and not burning is actually protective against cancers and helpful for a variety of different conditions, including vitamin D production.
If you look at life, things really happen at the tiniest scales. So we're talking about electrons, protons. Biophysics research tells us that our cells emit light. So when we take in the light from the sun, we re-emit it through our body on this tiny level that doctors have no clue about. But the research is there. Einstein discovered the photoelectric effect, where if a photon hits an electron, it creates electricity. And those electrons quantum tunnel. So quantum electrodynamic theory, that's where things are here and they go here without traveling. It just disappears and appears. So that's what happens in quantum physics. They've done the experiments, millions of times in studies. So it's not debatable. But medicine isn't there yet. And I think that's where if you go back to nature, you can't go wrong, because this is the light we developed under, and it's always going to be good. Our modern environment sucks. Not being in the sun enough, not grounding. We need to be connected to the earth. We need to have our bare feet on the ground.
The planet Earth collects ionic energy every time lightning strikes the surface of the planet, or every time solar radiation bombards the surface of the planet. When your skin is in touch with the dirt or the grass, or you're swimming in a natural body of water like a lake or a river or a pond, or better yet the ocean, which has minerals, so it's very charged, you're actually absorbing those negative ions in addition to harnessing all the other valuable things that you get in nature, right? Breathing phytochemicals and getting the sunshine I talked about, and fresh air and all those things that you don't get when you're in your indoor protected, comfortable, electrical soup environment. So getting your skin in contact with the surface of the planet for 20 minutes a day. You can go longer than that, but 20 minutes is a good place to start. Thinking about what you're wearing when you're outdoors. You can go barefoot. Nowadays there are many companies that sell shoes that have a conductive surface rather than a rubber-soled surface, so that you're actually absorbing energy from the earth without having to walk around like a dirty barefoot hippie or be concerned about stepping on needles or glass in an urban environment. So the earth actually is another way to charge up the body's battery. Similar to sunlight, you can use technologies to achieve that if you can't go outside. You can get grounding mats or earthing mats that you can put at your desk that your feet are on. I sleep on what's called a pulsed electromagnetic field mat, which produces an energetic frequency that's very similar to what you get when you're standing on the surface of the planet. You can use yoga mats, sleeping pillowcases, anything that's grounded or earthed, and these are not hard to find now, to actually get that same frequency indoors. And I'm one of those guys who's like 1 foot in the realm of ancestral wisdom and 1 foot in the realm of modern science. My property at my farm in Idaho, yeah, I'm outdoors, yeah, I'm barefoot, yeah, I'm out in the sunshine, but indoors I've got optimized circadian lighting, I've got red lights, I've got grounding mats, I've got PEMF, so I'm kind of coming at this whole battery charging scenario from two different angles. But now you're optimizing sunshine, you're optimizing connection to the planet, you're optimizing water and minerals to move those charges through the body. And then you really start to feel as though the battery is actually getting charged.
Physical fitness, I think, is very important. You need to use your muscles. There's million studies show that if you exercise, you get less dementia, you live longer, all these things. So exercise is a big part of it. The exposure to nature is a big part of it. The downside, what makes our mitochondria break, one of the big things is the artificial light issue. Being indoors all the time is the biggest problem. We're an indoor creature now. We got these lights that are not good for you. They're fake. They make your body think that it's noon. And unless it is noon, that ain't good. Every person is like this with their cell phone, doing stuff. They have mostly blue light. And blue light is the light that has the most biological effects. So we're getting an overdose of blue light. In the sun, blue is always balanced by red.
A lot of kids just aren't getting outside and rolling around and playing like we used to. They're sitting on a tablet all day. Sleep is actually more important than diet and exercise. Sleep is super important. And I know a lot of these kids aren't getting quality sleep. They're over-adrenalized with playing whatever games and being on social media and so forth. We have a lot of these Wi-Fi routers that are on all night. It acts like sun and it activates the pineal, so they don't actually get that melatonin release that's really important for their health and for them to develop normally.
As one of the early authors and experimenters in the longevity movement, the two things that no one talks about are indoor LED lighting, especially in the evening, and unnatural EMF fields. So if you sleep on a Wi-Fi router, you have lights on all night, little blue and green blinky things when you're trying to sleep. These lights are direct signals to the mitochondria, and your mitochondria is full of brain, and it stresses you out. So we need to get some sunshine every morning. We need to return darkness in the evening and night. And the hardest one is reduce our screen time.
What I've done in my house is I've changed all of the lighting to red, and I only use red light at night. This is really, really important. This is an easy thing to do. And then getting off of watching TV, if we're gonna watch TV or if we're gonna be on a computer or something like that, you can get blue blocking glasses. They're fairly inexpensive. Watching the sun come up in the morning is one of the best strategies to improving sleep. You're basically resetting your circadian rhythm. We have rhythms in our body, and these rhythms we need to honor. The circadian rhythm is governed by light. We allow that system to run the way it's meant to run, then we see a lot of improvements in metabolism and overall health and vitality.
So my recommendation is turn your bedroom, the one area of the house where technically your brain shouldn't be associated with work anyways. It shouldn't be a highly productive environment. It should be a sleeping environment. Turn that into a cold, dark, electricity-free cave. Unplug as much as possible, move the TV out of the bedroom, move the Wi-Fi router out of the bedroom, have your cell phone in airplane mode if you're gonna have it in there when you're in bed, and give your body, during that arguably 1/3 of your life, a chance to repair and recover during that third of your life when it's in that highly parasympathetic rest and digest state, and it has a chance to bounce back and recharge from all the electrical frequencies that you're exposed to during the day. Optimize your bedroom as much as possible to be a place where your battery gets recharged on a daily basis. We have an evolutionary mismatch from many of the things that we experienced for thousands of years as human beings. Offices that are no longer something that are outdoor, that involve heavy amounts of movement, but instead a sedentary life in front of the computer, and modern indoor boxes that are air conditioned and heated so our bodies don't have to deal with the cellular resilience producing effects of thermal stress. So I go out of my way to get uncomfortably hot 4 to 5 times a week, usually in the sauna, and I go out of my way to get uncomfortably cold once a day and often multiple times per day. And I think it's one of the best things that you can do for health. It's right up there for me with eating healthy and exercising.
Another thing that is free is at the end of your shower, let the water hit you in the face for about 1 minute. And this works by 2 mechanisms. One is it helps your body burn more fat, but the most important thing is something called BICEP from my last book, Brief Intentional Conscious Exposure to Pain. And it turns out that monks used to whip themselves, yogis used to lay on beds of nails, and biohackers, they do a cold shower because choosing something uncomfortable for just 1 minute changes the amount of dopamine it takes to make you care about the things you're doing that day. It takes less willpower if you do a 1 minute cold shower on your face and has longevity benefits.
When I travel, cold showers, huge fan of the multitude of metabolic benefits from cold. I'm a big fan of cold plunging. I think the people that knock it are either A, the people that just don't want to do it because it does kind of suck, or the people who have been convinced that cold plunging somehow suppresses inflammation and keeps you from getting a good mitochondrial or muscular response to a workout. If you actually look at the data, not only do you see a rise in testosterone and endorphins and a whole bunch of feel-good chemicals that give you a great day and a great workout after you cold plunge, but you got to get very cold for a very long time for a cold plunge to cause all these issues that people say that it causes. In the summer, I cold plunge 3 to 5 times per day. There's one outside my office. Any excuse I can get, I walk out there. I'm in there every day, 33 degrees, 1 to 2 minutes, and it's better than a cup of coffee.
Cold plunging. There's a lot of things going on. 2 major things. So when you get in the cold, the norepinephrine, it's what your adrenal glands release. It's a form of adrenaline. Your muscles constrict, it puts your body, your sympathetic nervous system, turns it on. But the benefits of norepinephrine is better mood, the sense of calm that comes when you've got norepinephrine is pretty magical. Your ability to focus improves. People tolerate stress better. And in one study, they looked at adults who had ADHD, anxiety, and depression, and they started at 60 degrees and then they just kept lowering the temperature. And they found that the closer they got to about 40 degrees, the better the mood stability became in these subjects. People had just a general overall sense of well-being. Many of them realized there may be a way to get through this without some of the drugs that they were non-responsive to. The second thing is the brown fat activation. So brown fat has this incredible ability to utilize the fats as an energy source, and so you get better fatty acid oxidation. Brown fat actually has better glucose utilization and glucose uptake than muscle does. It's a very efficient way that your body can make energy, so your energy expenditure goes up. White fat, and that's the majority of the fat in the body, white fat is metabolically inactive. The reason it's white is because all the mitochondria gets concentrated to the center of the cell. And so the beige fat is when those mitochondria, they stop clumping together and they actually create more energy expenditure. So that coloring is just a shift in the mitochondria. So now it's like a battery pack in your body. The other interesting thing is the PGC1 alpha. That's a pathway for the mitochondria to get renewed. So if you want to make your mitochondria young, you just get in the cold and you turn on the gene. It's like a metabolic reset for your whole body. You're turning on that pathway, the PGC1 alpha, and that's the master switch for what's called mitochondrial biogenesis, where you get the formation of all these new mitochondria. And so it's like upgrading your battery. It's like having a new battery in your Tesla, where all of a sudden the charge holds longer. From a health perspective, you can get really good benefits just by taking a cold shower. Like, you don't have to create this crazy setup and buy the $10,000 plunge. You can just fill up your bathtub with cold water. You don't have to get crazy with this. And I tease my patients all the time and I say, you're wasting water when you turn on your shower. Just get in when it's cold. Just start peeling off that Band-Aid and being okay with having some temperature variation in your life. So people who want to get into cold plunging, 11 minutes a week seems to be the gold standard, where you can break it up. Maybe you do like 3-minute sessions 4 times a week, or you could do 3.5-minute sessions. There's no one size fits all, but generally speaking, if you go more than 11 minutes, you start blunting some of the effectiveness of it. You can start at between 50 and 59 degrees. Start with 20 seconds and then just see if you can build up to about 2 minutes. And then once you can get to 2 minutes, then you can take the temperature down a little bit and get it closer to like low 50s, high 40s, and then just keep waiting until you can tolerate 2 minutes and then get the temperature lower. And maybe after 3 to 6 months, you can jump into something that's below 40 degrees, because that's where you're going to be in there for less time, but you get a higher adaptive response. Anything in longevity, it always comes down to the mitochondria. And if you have more brown fat activation, which is what cold exposure will do, you're going to get more mitochondrial biogenesis. If you have this hormetic response, your body's going to be able to adapt far greater. And so it might be one of the most important things we can do for longevity activity.
Some of my dear friends are extreme biohackers, right? They're going for it. They want to live in, 120 years old, 150 years old, and they want to live actively into those years. And they're doing these sort of cutting edge things. They're experimenting in their own bodies to achieve longevity. I think it's a spectrum. I think you can really go into it and become very obsessed and passionate with it. I think you could do simple things, taking a 40-minute walk every single day, taking proper supplementation, getting regular blood work and looking at how things are going for you, eating clean, eating organic, getting as much chemicals out of your body as possible, getting to places that enrich your state of well-being. Do you get to the ocean sometimes? Do you get to the mountains sometimes? Do you somehow engage in life in a way that fosters a positive mental attitude, a positive outlook and experience, good physical care? A lot of times extreme athletes, they seem very healthy at the time that they're training, but they overtrain and their joints deteriorate, and later in life, they start to become more infirmed. I always looked, when I'm working out, and if you look at me right now as I'm sitting here, I'm 66 years old. And a part of my approach has been not to push everything to the peak, because on the other side of that peak, you come down. I'm pushing maybe up to 80% of that peak and keeping that going, knowing that once in a while, if I want to push past, I can, but I want longevity, not the absolute extreme peak fitness I could have at any moment in time.
My definition of health and well-being would be an individual that had a lot of vitality, right? They were waking up in the morning and they were full of energy, happy. I think purpose in life is really important, and it drives a lot of health in the body. There's the mental, emotional, spiritual, chemical, right, physical. All of these things have a place. And there's an importance for all of these things to be at a certain level, right? If you just have one of those aspects that is stressing the system so that you can't adapt to it, you're gonna slip into a disease state, straight up. And so if your physical body isn't strong, if you've got some exposure to like chemicals and the chemistry, maybe it could be the hormones are off, then you have the lack of purpose in your life. Your emotional state is poor. They've done a lot of studies where they've shown that when we're not having proper thinking and where our emotions are off, it changes the chemistry in our body. We may not sleep as well. My philosophy is very, very different than a lot of others. Now, I believe in what's called the 3 pillars: vitality, identity, and divinity. Vitality of the body, right? The more vital we are, the higher levels of spiritual consciousness that we can achieve. We're gonna feel better. We're gonna be a better individual in our community. We're gonna be happier. We're gonna treat others better. We're gonna treat ourselves better. Identity really has to do with who we're identifying with, and a lot of people identify with their thoughts and their relationships and the things that they've done and the things that they've learned as being them. And that's not you. Those are just thought forms. The true you is the observer, right? It's the whole concept of the ego. And so this is identity, and then divinity is a direct experience of God, being totally connected, to the universe. And it doesn't take but one experience to really appreciate that. And so if you put all of these things together, you're going to have an opportunity to really have the full expression in your life.
With the 4,000 centenarians, there was no common religion, there was no common diet, there was no common anything. The only 4 things I found that were the same amongst these 4,000 people, they believed in a higher power of some kind, didn't matter which. They felt like they should go outside every day and do something, walk around the block or work in the garden, didn't matter. They just felt like they should go outside. They had friends that they spent good time with, either going to the cafe, getting a little coffee together or something, or just spending time with a friend. And the last thing that they did is they had gratitude. They were grateful for the things that they had.
The way I think about this is that we are souls with bodies, not bodies with souls. And no matter how much effort that we put into transhumanism or biohacking or living to 180 years old or spending a whole bunch of time, huddled up cold and hungry and libidoless inside a hyperbaric chamber to grasp at those last few straws or years of life, we're all at the end of the day someday just going to be wrinkled up and ugly and osteopenic and osteoporotic and sarcopenic and plaque in the arteries and everything else. Like it inevitably happens. And yet the one thing that biological degradation can't touch is our souls and our spirits, which can continue to be strong and bright and carry a spark that I believe is eternal. And so I would be remiss not to care for my spirit with as much or even more rigor as I might care for my body or my brain. And I consider any of these spiritual disciplines, silence, solitude, journaling, worship, service, fasting, meditation, and prayer to all be a part of that. The way it looks in my life is it's part of my morning routine. Right? If I don't do it in the morning before the world gets at me, then typically it doesn't get done. And I say my prayers. And typically prayer is paired with meditation. It's not just jabber, jabber, jabber at God. Right? It's actually me being quiet and listening for the voice of God, and sometimes including mantras. Right? Like my mantra right now in a busy and sometimes stressful season of life is Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you, Lord. And sometimes it's a solid 8 to 10 minutes of just repeating that mantra over and over again. And you almost get into this trance-like state doing something like that. It's a very, very important part of the morning. So my order of priorities in life are God, number 1, my wife, number 2, my kids, number 3, because my wife and I can't help our kids unless our oxygen masks are on first. And then my health, number 4, which is easy for me because that's my business. And then my business, which used to be number 1 before I got my priorities straight and before I actually became happy and fulfilled, my business is number 5, because your business will eat you alive if that's a thing that comes first. So the spiritual piece is enormously helpful. Data does not lie that everything from spiritual practices like meditation, prayer to service to even church attendance can help tremendously with health. But again, the reason to do it is because you have a deep desire to connect with God and find that fulfillment that a connection to something eternal brings, and then the results from a health standpoint just manifest themselves as a natural result of that.
I'm really excited about the fact that longevity is becoming sort of this cultural phenomenon that's growing. I'm really excited about the fact that people care about their lives and taking care of themselves. The idea of longevity also implies self-responsibility, which I think is really important. Too often people are outsourcing their health care or their well-being, and they're waiting to get sick, and then they go try to do something about it, and they're trying to fix it through things that are very toxic, like pharmaceuticals and other such things, as compared to saying the best thing I could do is proactively take care of myself. I think there's an 80-20 rule here, meaning, hey, just do 20% of the stuff that's going to give you 80% of the outcome you're looking for. Most of it is pretty much common sense. And then live that way, and you're going to find that, wow, you're going into your later years and you're going to be a lot healthier than your parents were and your grandparents were. You're going to live longer, you're going to live better, and you're going to enjoy this life. And incidentally, there's one other implication here that maybe people don't talk about, but you have to think about the fact of, hey, if you live till you're 100 years old, are you preparing financially for that? Do you think Medicare is going to kind of keep you going in a pretty good lifestyle? So if you have the objective to live long, there's a financial aspect of that that's a consideration that I think you also probably want to tie into the equation.
We just need to wake up as a population. You have to have the right incentives. The incentive should be, we want to have healthy people. We want to have the medicine cost the least as possible. And we spend so much on healthcare in the United States, and we have poor health compared to other countries that spend half as much. They have better health. That's a big signal.
I'm actually really hopeful for the future of health in the US. And that's why MAHA is so important. So to do that, we've got to raise the tide for everyone. So our children become healthy again, which means that when they grow up, they'll be healthy mothers, they'll have healthier children, and we can change society. You cannot have freedom without the ability to take risks, or maybe to do something that's probably gonna work, but you don't know, because that's how the world gets better.
One more day. We have one more day of our free MAHA Uncensored broadcast. But I hope this won't be the end of your journey. I hope it's only the beginning. I put everything on the line to make MAHA Uncensored happen. I leaned on relationships. We spent every dime we could raise. I traveled thousands of miles and filmed over 100 people over a full year. And now it's up to you to decide what comes next. If you haven't already, scroll down to become a supporter and get full on-demand access to the entire 16-part documentary. I don't want you to miss out, and then find out next week you're trying to remember the name of the stem cell doctor, or the toxin drainage protocol, or the name of that peptide that Reagan Archibald or Brigham Bueller mentioned. You'll also get our 149-page viewer's guide, plus our audio episodes and transcripts. We also have available the official MAHA documentary on our toxic world called Toxic Nation, as well as our never-before-seen uncut interview series with Bobby Kennedy, a doctor's review of Bobby's health and supplement regimen, our MAHA cookbook, and hundreds of dollars more in bonuses and free gifts. That's all yours for just giving your support to this film and our movement. What'll it cost you? Less than most people spend on dinner and a movie. That's all you need to unlock the power and promise of Maha Uncensored in your life and in your family's life. Maybe you have friends who still haven't seen the film. Set up a screening at home or use the Maha cookbook for dinner on a Friday night. Bring the viewer's guide to show your doctor or your health coach. If a single part of this film benefits your life, if it frees you from the grip of chronic suffering, then why wait? Our final broadcast tomorrow starts with a problem that's going to feel very familiar to anyone with chronic pain or illness. If you've struggled with Lyme or thyroid or have metabolic problems, if you have symptoms but no real answers, I really want you to watch our broadcast tomorrow. There's a way to connect the dots, and we're going to show you how. We're going to hear from Dr. Mark Hyman, chronic illness expert Dr. Paul Anderson, cardiologist Dr. Jack Wolfson, and other experts on integrative and functional medicine. And again, if you haven't already, please scroll down to join the thousands of supporters of this film, this movement. You won't regret it. I'll see you tomorrow.